Many men operate under a profound and costly misconception that a woman's demand for an explanation is a simple request for information, and that providing a detailed, logical justification will earn her respect, build trust, and resolve conflict. This belief leads them down a path of endless self-justification, where they scramble to prove their choices are valid, their actions are reasonable, and their decisions deserve her approval. They approach the interaction as if it were a courtroom, believing that if they can just present the facts clearly enough, they will be found innocent of the charges of upsetting her or acting without her consent. However, this entire framework is a trap. The moment a man begins to explain himself in this defensive manner, he has already lost. He has misunderstood the nature of the exchange entirely. It is not a logical debate. It is a test of frame. Explanation, in this context, is not an act of leadership or transparency. It is a subtle yet powerful form of submission. When a man feels compelled to justify his reality to a woman, he voluntarily steps out of his own frame and attempts to fit into hers. He is no longer standing on the solid ground of his own convictions, but is instead dancing on the shifting sands of her emotions. By engaging in this negotiation of his own choices, he sends an unconscious yet unmistakable message that his reality is negotiable, that his mission is secondary to her mood, and that her emotional state holds veto power over his actions. This relinquishing of authority is the death of masculine presence. The man who explains is implicitly telling her that her approval is the prize he seeks, and in doing so, he hands her the gavel and places himself in the defendant's chair. He grants her the ultimate power to validate or invalidate his very being. And once that power dynamic is established, the respect he so desperately hopes to gain through his elaborate explanations becomes impossible to achieve. For respect cannot be given to someone who has already positioned themselves as a supplicant. Beneath the surface of questions and demands for communication lies a deeper, more primal currency that governs attraction, the need for certainty. Women may say they want honesty, transparency, and detailed explanations. But what they are truly seeking is a foundation of unshakable strength upon which they can rely. This is not a conscious calculation, but an instinctual pull. A woman's respect for a man is never truly found in the content of his words, no matter how logical or well-reasoned they may be. It is felt in his energy, his posture, the calm steadiness in his eyes, and the unwavering certainty in his actions. When a man stands solid, calm, and completely unshaken by her emotional storms, he provides something far more valuable than information. He provides security. He becomes the unmovable rock in her swirling emotional sea, and that is what allows her to feel safe, to relax, and ultimately, to trust. This is why a woman's questions are so often tests in disguise. When she asks, "Why didn't you call?" or "Why did you make that decision?" she is rarely looking for a logistical breakdown of your day or a cost-benefit analysis. She is probing your frame. She is applying pressure to see if your reality is firm or if it is contingent on her reaction. She is testing to see if her emotions can sway you, if her displeasure can cause you to stumble, apologize, and scramble to make amends. If you take the bait and launch into a long-winded defense, you have already failed the test. You have revealed that your center of gravity is not within yourself, but is external, dependent on her approval. This neediness triggers an instinctual response of disgust and a loss of respect, because it signals weakness and a lack of leadership. The men who become objects of obsession, the ones women chase and cannot forget, are never the ones who expertly explain themselves into her good graces. They are the men who simply are. They act in accordance with their own internal compass. They stand by their decisions with quiet confidence. And they never seek permission for their existence. Their silence is not empty. It is profoundly loud. It communicates a core truth that his mission is paramount, his choices are his own, and his validation comes from within. This is the essence of true leadership and attraction. It is not about dictating to her, but about leading by example. By being so grounded in your own purpose that she is inspired to align with it, Her desire is not sparked by a man who tries to manage her emotions with words, but by a man whose presence is so certain that it allows her emotions to settle on their own. He doesn't get caught in the storm. He is the anchor, and that is infinitely more attractive than any explanation could ever be. In the dynamics of attraction, what is left unsaid often holds far more power than what is spoken. Silence, when wielded from a place of strength, is not a void to be filled, but a potent tool that commands respect and actively fuels desire. The man who feels no compulsion to explain himself understands a crucial truth. Mystery is not an accident. It is a strategic advantage. By withholding a full and constant narration of his thoughts, motives, and reasoning, he creates a vacuum of curiosity that a woman instinctively moves to fill. She is forced to wonder, to imagine, to project, and to invest mental energy in piecing him together. This process of active engagement, of trying to solve the puzzle he represents, is the very engine of obsession. It transforms him from a known quantity into an intriguing mystery, and the human mind is helplessly drawn to what it does not fully understand. Her imagination, fueled by his silent certainty, will always craft a narrative far more compelling and alluring than any mundane explanation he could offer. Conversely, the man who over-explains commits a fatal error. He kills all mystery. In his anxious attempt to be understood and validated, he provides a complete and unedited blueprint of his psyche. He leaves no room for wonder, no gap for her imagination to occupy. He satisfies her curiosity too quickly and too completely, and in doing so, he suffocates the very attraction he hopes to secure. There is nothing left for her to discover, no hidden depth to ponder, and thus, no reason for her mind to linger on him when he is not present. He becomes predictable, manageable, and ultimately boring. His transparency, which he mistakes for intimacy, is actually the death of intrigue. This strategic silence also functions as a powerful display of dominance. It's communicated without uttering a single word. When she pushes, tests, or questions him, attempting to provoke a reaction, and he remains calm. Unmoved and unresponsive to her emotional bait, he sends an undeniable message. I am not under your control. My reality is not negotiable. This message is received not on an intellectual level, but on a primal, instinctual one. While she may protest verbally, calling it arrogance or a lack of communication, her deeper, more visceral response is one of respect. His unshakable calm proves he is grounded in something far larger and more stable than her fluctuating emotions. He is grounded in his own core self. This is the essence of a strong frame. He is not arguing with her storm. He is simply being the rock around which it swirls and eventually exhausts itself. Her emotions are hers to manage, and by refusing to engage in a futile attempt to logic them away, he forces her to confront them herself. This is not abandonment. It is the ultimate form of strength, demonstrating that he can provide the stability of his presence without needing to manage the chaos of hers. This paradoxical combination, the thrilling mystery of the unknown and the profound safety of his unwavering presence, creates a magnetic pull that is irresistible, keeping her both frustrated and utterly addicted to the man who gives her nothing but his calm, enigmatic self. The most potent and sustainable form of attraction thrives on a fundamental dynamic known as polarity, the energetic tension between masculine and feminine energies. In its natural state, this dynamic functions with the man occupying the role of the leader, the one who sets the direction, establishes the frame of reality, and operates from his core mission. The woman, in turn, occupies the role of the chooser, the one who evaluates his frame and decides whether to align with it and support it, or to leave. This complementary opposition is the source of sparks, desire, and deep respect. However, this crucial polarity is instantly short-circuited the moment a man begins to explain and justify himself. Explanation is the behavioral signature of a follower, not a leader. When he meticulously lays out his reasoning for her approval, he effectively inverts the natural hierarchy. He is no longer leading. He is following her emotional state, scrambling to reassure her that his path is worthy of her endorsement. He places her in the judge's seat and himself in the defendant's chair, pleading his case. A woman cannot feel genuine, visceral desire for a man she perceives as beneath her in this emotional hierarchy. She may stay for comfort, out of convenience, or from a place of pity, but the electric current of raw attraction will die the moment. She senses she has become the emotional leader in the relationship. Her instinct is not to follow a man who is looking to her for validation and direction. Her instinct is to follow a man who is so sure of his own direction that her validation, while appreciated, is ultimately unnecessary. This is why a man's silence in the face of pressure is not just a personal choice. It is a vital mechanism for protecting the structural integrity of the relationship's attraction. His refusal to explain is a non-verbal declaration that the natural order remains intact. He leads from his principles, and she chooses how to respond. This is also the true purpose of the test women so frequently employ. Her questions and emotional probes are not mere requests for data. They are sophisticated diagnostics of the strength of your leadership. When she asks, "Why did you do that?" she is applying a calibrated pressure to your frame to see if it bends. If you immediately fold, apologizing and offering a lengthy defense, the test is over and she has her answer. Your frame is weak and your leadership is contingent on her mood. This is a profoundly disappointing and desexualizing discovery. However, if you remain calm, hold your frame, and refuse to be drawn into a defensive negotiation of your reality, she receives a completely different message. She feels that you are untouchable, that your mission is non-negotiable, and that her emotions, while acknowledged, cannot derail you. This steadiness is intensely magnetic. It proves that you are a man who can provide the ultimate security at the security of material things, but the security of unwavering leadership. By protecting the polarity through your silence, you don't push her away. You create the only conditions under which lasting, powerful attraction can truly flourish. You allow her to relax into her feminine energy, secure in the knowledge that the man leading the way is not constantly looking back for her permission. The refusal to engage in constant self-justification is far more than a tactic. It is the outward manifestation of a deeply integrated and unshakable foundation of certainty. This certainty is not arrogance or stubbornness, but the quiet confidence of a man who is fully grounded in his own purpose and principles. He understands that his validation must come from within, from his alignment with his mission, and not from the external, fluctuating approval of another person. A man who feels the need to explain is, at his core, seeking absolution. His explanations are often apologies in disguise, and the underlying energy screams a plea. Please understand me. Please don't be upset. Please don't leave me. This energy of neediness is the ultimate repellent of respect and attraction, for it reveals a fundamental lack of self-belief and a fear of loss that is directly at odds with leadership. A man rooted in certainty operates from a different paradigm entirely. He knows his decisions were made with clarity and intention. His internal compass is calibrated to his own values, not her emotional weather. If she chooses to misunderstand or be upset by a choice that was true to his mission, he sees that as her problem to manage, not his to solve. This is not a lack of care. It is a profound understanding that he cannot logic her into a feeling, and that attempting to do so only diminishes his standing. Paradoxically, this very lack of investment in her understanding is what flips the dynamic. His unwavering frame becomes the new standard. Suddenly, she is the one seeking to understand him, to prove her alignment with his reality, to earn her place within his world. He ceases to be the supplicant and becomes the prize. This steadfastness also acts as a powerful filter, naturally separating those who are suited to his journey from those who are not. Women who are themselves insecure or who are addicted to emotional control and drama will find his silent certainty intolerable. They will label him cold, toxic, or emotionally unavailable because he refuses to engage in the chaotic dances they crave. They will eventually leave, and this is a feature, not a bug. It protects his peace and preserves his energy. Conversely, Women of substance, those who genuinely seek a partner they can respect and look up to, are magnetized by this very quality. While his silence may frustrate them in the moment, it ultimately provides the deep sense of safety they truly crave. They instinctually recognize that a man who cannot be manipulated by emotion is a man who can be trusted to lead wisely, especially under pressure. His silence communicates that he is not for everyone, and this discernment itself adds to his value. Ultimately, this approach conserves a man's most vital resources: his time, energy, and focus. He no longer wastes himself in endless circular arguments aimed at managing temporary emotions. He no longer sacrifices his inner peace on the altar of her momentary disapproval. He makes decisions based on his best judgment, stands by them calmly, and allows time and results to prove him right. And they always do. Women may complain, question, or resist in the immediate aftermath of a decision. But what they remember later is not the words that were exchanged, but the fact that he never wavered. That memory of his unwavering presence, of his steadfastness in the storm, etches itself into her psyche far deeper than any perfectly crafted explanation ever could. It becomes the bedrock of the relationship. His silence is not an absence of communication. It is a powerful communication of its own. It echoes long after the conversation is over, speaking volumes about his character, his integrity, and his strength. The man who masters this understands that true power does not lie in the ability to convince or defend, but in the profound capacity to stand, unmoved and complete within himself, allowing his actions and his presence to say everything that needs to be said. He never has to beg for respect because his very being commands it.